Okay. In previous class, uh, you have learned how to generate object code for each and every instruction in your assembly level program written for SIC machine. Okay. So that program's purpose was to read the data or to read the record from input device and print that record or data on monitor screen, that is output device. Since speeds of input device and output device may vary in between input device and output device, we have used one storage, that is intermediate storage, that is called as buffer. So size of that buffer was 4096 bytes. It means it can hold only 4096 characters. Then if your input is more than 4096 characters, then first 4096 characters, whatever you have stored into the buffer, that will be written to the output device first. Then next it starts to read the data from input device. Like this, it can continue the input and the output operations. That is nothing but read, record, or read data and write data operations. So for this simple operation, reading and writing, so this much lengthy program we had written, and for that program we have generated object code for each and every instruction in that program. So now what we are going to do is object code you have generated in the last column of that program. Okay, if you want, you open your textbook in the page number 49, you will get, you keep that page open. Okay, and you keep ready your calculator also. You keep ready your class notebook with your pen and pencil, all things. Okay, so what we have done here, we have one source program which is written in assembly level language. Now we have to convert it into machine level language, that is low level language. So right now, one by one, all the instructions line by line you have converted it into its equivalent object code in last column. But this all object codes we have to write in a particular format or syntax so that we can get a proper object code or machine level program or low level program. So there is a particular format is there, one syntax is there. We should strictly follow that syntax. We should not leave this much only. Still only 50% of work is completed. Now we are going to arrange these all object codes line by line, whatever the object codes you have generated. Those all object codes now we have to arrange in a proper way so that we can get a correct and proper object program or converted or translated object program. Okay. To do that one, we have to follow these 5 steps, whatever I am showing on my screen now. The translation of a source program to object program or object code requires us to accomplish the following functions. Okay. So what are those steps? 5 steps are there. First step is we have to convert the mnemonic operation codes to their machine language equivalents, what we have already completed. Correct? So converting a mnemonic operation means operation code to machine equivalent is nothing but finding the instruction from your program and searching it into your appendix A and finding its equivalent opcode in the appendix A. For example, here I have translated STL instruction to 14. What is this 14? 14 is opcode for the instruction STL. Okay, our instruction, instead of instruction you can call it as a operation code, but here to avoid the confusion, I call this as a instruction and this as a opcode. Okay, operation code. If you open appendix A and if you search this instruction STL, you will find the opcode 14 for STL, and this STL is in your program in the line number 10. Okay, this is just one example how we have converted or translated the mnemonic instructions operation codes into machine language equivalent. Second step is also we have done. What is that second step? Convert the symbolic operands to their machine equivalent addresses. It means, so symbols means what here? I already told you the first and third column. First column and third column in your program. First column is called as a label. Second column is called as a opcode, that is operation code. That is nothing but a list of instructions. And the third column is operands. Okay, so first column and last column, that is first column and third column, I already told you, those are called as symbols. Okay, so in third column, whatever you are using the operands or variables, for those all operands, we are going to define, we are going to reserve some memory in our machine. So how we are defining in that program only, we divide that program into two parts, one logical part and second the bottom part, usually we call it as storage defining part. Okay, in storage defining part, if you observe in that program, each and every operand, each and every variable what you are going to use in your program, we have defined it, we have defined them in a first column only. Okay, so here we are going to convert these symbolic operands to their equivalent machine address. For example, you should suppose if you want to uh, convert LDA return address. LDA return address. Your instruction is LDA return address. Your instruction is LDA, but your operand with that instruction is return address. RETADR. RETADR. So you have to keep on searching the first column where my return address is defined. Okay. So here one example I have given, translate return address to 1033. Okay. So in your program in line number 10, RETADR is there. STL RETADR instruction is there in your line number 10. There RETADR is nothing but it is a variable, it is an operand. Its address is 1033. It is defined, it is stored in 1033. Like this, for each and every symbol, we should keep on assigning the addresses. So this also we have done. Now next is third instruction. Third step is build the machine instructions in a proper format. What you have to build? You have to build a machine instruction. Of course, you have done this also. Since you are studying the SIC machine, there is only one machine instruction is there. Our instruction format is only one instruction format of length 24-bit. First 8 bits for opcode, then 1 bit for flag bit X, then 15 bits of address. For each and every instruction of your program, you have already draw or build the machine instruction in a proper format without any mistake. Correct? So with the help of these diagrams only, one by one for each and every instruction, you have drawn nicely the diagrams, and you have drawn that instruction format of SIC instructions with the 24 bits. Right? After drawing that, what you have done, and you are going to convert some constants there in your program. There are some constants are there. Which constants? Two types of constants are there, as I already told you. One is a character constant, one more is a hexadecimal constant. Character constant will be enclosed within a single quotes and it will be prefixed with capital C. If capital C comes there, then you should understand that it is a character constant. Or else if it is prefixed with the capital X, then you should understand that it is a hexadecimal constant. Okay. So these constants also you are converting it into internal machine representation. How you are converting it? I already told you. So for example, if there is a character constant EOF, okay, I think you have done one program, string 1 and string 2 with the character constant VSMIT also, right? So suppose here in my example, I am going to translate the character constant EOF, which indicates end of file. So here one by one character you should take here E, O, F, and you should search E in appendix B. There you will get its equivalent machine representation, internal machine representation. Okay, E's equivalent machine representation is 45. Okay, so O's internal machine representation or hexadecimal equivalent code is a 4F. Okay, then F, if you take F, for E it is 45, for O it is 4F, for F it is 48. This EOF translation you can observe in line number 80 of your program. Okay, like this, some character constants are there, some hexadecimal constants are there. Them also we are going to convert them into internal machine representation. Okay, so that if you type this 454F46, then easily machine can understand that, oh, it is a end of file. But it is not easy for us to understand that it is end of file. It is representing end of file. We can understand only this one, EOF. since it is written in assembly level, okay, but it is in a low level. Clear? Now, last step what we have to do now. Now, this is the step what is remaining now. Write the object program and assembly listing. It means that now we have to write the correct proper object program. How we have to write that object program? There is a list of object codes are there in your program. Okay, so those all object codes we have to arrange in a proper way. That is nothing but assembly listing. Okay, this fifth step what we are going to study today. Okay, so first four steps we have already studied. Now we are going to study this fifth step, that is write the object program. Our actual object program we are going to write now. So before going to that, just I want to revise some important points here. See, whenever you solved this instruction STL return address and you have generated object code for this instruction STL, how you generated I already told you. This 1 4 how you got 1 4 is nothing but opcode of STL instruction. How you got 1033? This is the address of this operand return address. Since if you try to generate object code like this one by one, line by line, it is not possible. Okay, because if this STL is in line number 10, in line number 15, it means it's the next line. Okay, so immediately you cannot go to next instruction. Why? It means that return address is not defined in line number 15. That is immediate next line. You have to keep on search this return address in a label column somewhere else, and in that line number you should search what is the address of return address. Isn't it? You have searched your addresses of these all operands in that way only, correct? Immediately next line you will not get the address of these operands. You should search them. You should go there in a label column. There you should search these operands, and then you will go to left side of it, and then you will find out the address of that operand. So like this, immediately in next line you cannot go. So whenever you try to generate object code, it is not possible to generate them, or it is not possible to do this all things line by line sequentially. Okay, so since you are searching for address of return address in somewhere else, in some other line number somewhere in 15, not 15, in line number 50 or 65 or something, somewhere else long away from this line number 10. So this process is called as forward reference. Remember this technical word, intentionally I am telling you. It is called as forward reference. This STL instruction contains a forward reference because a reference to a label return address that is defined later in our program, not immediately next line. Okay, if we attempt to translate the program line by line, we will be unable to process this statement because we do not know the address that will be assigned to this return address. Okay, because return address is defined somewhere else in your program after a long time, after so many lines, not in immediately next line of line number 10. Clear? So this is called as forward reference. For every instruction, if you observe, you should keep on searching the address of operand in the next some 10 to 15 lines onwards. So this process is called as forward reference. Okay, so because of this, most assemblers will use two passes. Remember this word pass. What is this pass? Pass is nothing but iteration, or you can say step. Okay, so most of the assemblers will use two steps over the source program. So why, sir, they will use these two steps? Because address are not immediately available. So it is one big task only. So because of that only, so they have assemblers are using a separate iteration, a separate step for finding the addresses of first all operands. Then if you find the addresses of all operands, then it is very easy to convert this STL into object code. Correct? So first they will find out all the addresses of all the operands. Then it will convert STL into object code. Okay, see here. First pass is what here? The first pass does a little more than scan the source program. Okay, line by line it will scan that source program for label definitions and assign the addresses. Okay, So assign the addresses means already you have done it actually. Since our program we assumed that it is going to start in the address 1000, and each and every instruction in our SIC program is having 24-bit length. Every instruction is 24-bit length only. 24-bit is nothing but 3 bytes. So after 1000, you keep on adding plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3 there. And these all addresses will be in hexadecimal. So sometimes you may get A, B, C, D, E, F like this. Okay. In these all addresses, if you observe in your program, LOC column is there in location column. That we have generated in first pass. That is, this is the first step of assembler. First, it will generate the location column. Okay. So first we should assign addresses to all the operands. This is the first task what we have to do. Then second pass, what it does, in second step, it performs most of the actual translation previously described. Previously described means what? Still now whatever you have done, that is translation of instruction into object code, that process only will be done in step number 2. So what is the step number 1? In step number 1, just we are going to assign the addresses to all the operands. It means that whatever the symbols, whatever the variables, whatever the operands you want to use in your program, you have to define them. You have to reserve a memory for them, and you should write the location column first. It means you should assume that your program is starting in the address 1000, and first executable instruction in your program may be something that is STL return address only, I think, first instruction. Okay, for that instruction, you will write the address 1000, and since its length is 3 bytes, you should add plus 3. It means it takes 3 bytes. Then again in your program, whatever the instruction comes, again it will take 3 bytes. So first again you should add plus 3 to that address. Like this, for each and every address, you should keep on adding plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. It means for every instruction you are reserving 3 bytes of memory, and in that memory that instruction is going and sitting. And similarly, you are assigning the addresses to those operands also. So first thing, you should generate the location column. After that only you should proceed to convert the instruction into object code by drawing that instruction format diagram. Okay. So these two passes will be used by most of the assemblers, pass 1 and pass 2. In pass 1, just assigning the addresses to operands, and in pass 2 we are doing our actual translation or conversion or compilation. Clear? So first and second pass you remember. Then in addition to that forward reference and these two passes, you should keep one more thing in your mind. What we have done actually in this translation process or conversion process, we are not only translating the instruction of our source program. Along with our instructions, there are some more instructions are there, which are called as special instructions, which are called as pseudo instructions. Pseudo instructions are nothing but assembler directives. 6 assembler directives I already explained, right? Start, end, byte, reserve byte, word, reserve word. What all these 6 assembler directives will do, that also I explained, right? So not only we are translating our instructions like COMP, R sub, J sub, STL, LDA, LDCH, STCH, STA. These all are instructions. Okay. So not only we are converting them, not only we are translating them. Along with such type of instructions, there are also some special type of instructions which are called as pseudo instructions, which are also called as assembler directives. So what we have to do these assembler directives? We have to process them. We have to process them. We cannot translate them. We have to process them. So in addition to translating our instructions, we have to process some statements which are called as assembler directives. What are these assembler directives are going to do? These are not part of our program, but they are playing a very, very important role. They are having the effect on our object program. Okay, see, these statements are not translated into machine instructions, even though they have an effect on our program, object program. Instead, they will give some instructions, they will give some directions, they will give some guidelines to assembler itself. Because of that only they are calling it as assembler directives. They are guiding, they are directing, they are helping assembler to do something, to generate object program. Clear? Examples of assembler directives are statements like byte and word, which will direct or which will guide, which will tell the assembler to generate the constants. Which type of constants these byte and word will generate? They will generate either character constant or hexadecimal constant. Remember, I already told you byte will reserve only one byte of memory. In that one byte of memory, which data you are going to store, that you should have mentioned there only. Correct? So that is nothing but they are generating the constant. They are generating the constant. It may be character constant based on the number of characters you are writing in that third column. That many number of bytes will be reserved actually. Okay. So if you write only one character there, it will reserve only one byte, and in that one byte it will reserve that character. If you write three characters, it will reserve three bytes, and in those three bytes, those three characters will be stored like this. Then word will also reserve only one word of memory. In that word, what data we are going to store, that data or value we have to write in the operand column. Correct? It is also nothing but it is going to generate the constant. Which constant? It may be character constant or it may be hexadecimal constant. Okay, so these byte and word will generate the constants along with the reserving the memory. Okay, so then other two assembler directives are reserve byte and reserve word. These will also reserve some memory. Reserve byte, how many number of bytes you require, that many number of bytes it will reserve. But that how many numbers of bytes you want to reserve, that number you should write in the operand column. Okay, and these reserve word assembler directive also reserve the memory. What type of memory? It reserves a words, not byte. It reserves the words. How many number of words you want to reserve, that many number of words it will reserve. Okay, so the main difference is these will also reserve the memory and these will also reserve the memory, but these will reserve the memory as well as they will store that data there, but these will reserve the memory, that's all. Okay, these will generate the constants. These will store the whatever the data you want to store here, that also you should write there. No, that is nothing but what it is, they are generating the constants. But these reserve byte and reserve word will not reserve the sorry, they will not generate the memory. Okay, sorry, they will not generate the constants. Okay, they reserve the memory but they will not generate the constants or data values here. These assembler directives will instruct the assembler to reserve the memory locations without generating the data values. Then apart from these four assembler directives, there are again two assembler directives are there, start and end. What these are going to do? These are going to do, this start will specify the starting memory address of your object program and end will mark the end of the program. Along with the start, you will see name of your program and starting address of your program. Name of our program in our example was COPY, that is copy, and starting address of our program was 1000. Do you remember? Okay. Then end. End indicates end of our program. Along with this end, usually we write the starting address of our program. It means we should understand that now the program which was started in the address 1000, it is ended now. Okay. So these are six very important assembler directives what we have to process during our actual translation method procedure. Finally, the assembler must write this assembler, whatever it has done, it has to write the generated object code onto some output device. This object program will later be loaded into the memory for the execution. As I already told you in the first class, in my theory class in college, first we write the program in a text editor, then we compile it, then we load it into the memory, then we link it into the any other sub programs, then we debug the program. These all whatever softwares we are using here, text editor, compiler, assembler, and a debugger, loader, linker. These all are examples of our system software. Okay, so object program now we are going to write now. Okay, later after writing this object program, that object program will be loaded into the memory for the execution. And who will load it? The loader will load it into the memory. Okay, now that object program should have a particular syntax. For example, in our body only, human body, we have a head and we have a stomach and we have a leg. If you divide our body into three parts, head, stomach and leg. Similarly, this object program also divided into three parts. And here, instead of calling that a regular word, day-to-day word part, I call it specifically, technically as a record. Okay, this program is divided into three parts or three sections. Okay, and these sections or parts are called as records, and these records are three types of records here: header record, text record and end record. Even in any C program also you have first preprocessor directives, and then declaration statements, then a main function, then some executable statements, right? Then at last some user defined functions you will write on. So there is a particular structure is there for a program. So here also for this object program, we have to write that object program in a particular structure. That structure has three records. So in that one, first record is a header record. Header. Okay. So second record is called as text record. Third record is called as end record. Remember these three words: header, text, end. In header record, what we should write? We should write the name of our program and starting address of the program. Okay, and along with the starting address of the program and the name of the program, we should write the length of our program also. Okay, remember these three things we should write in a header record. And in text record, what we should write? In text record, we should write the machine code, which exactly is nothing but your object codes you should write here. Translated instructions. Translated instructions is nothing but machine code. Okay, so that is nothing but in your third column of your last column of your program in your textbook, object code column is there. Those all object codes already you have generated. Those all object codes we should keep on listing in this record, text record. We should write all those object codes in this text record. Writing this text record itself is a challenging task for you. Remember, writing header record and end record is very easy. Writing text record is only a challenging task. Okay, so in text record we should just keep on writing the object codes whatever we have till now generated in our program. Okay, and here in end record, what we should write? We should write the end of the object program. It indicates the end of the object program and it specifies the address in the program where execution is to begin. It means that as in our program, if you want to observe their end 1000 is there. What it means? It is going to say that here the program which was started in the address 1000 is completed or end. So same thing we should show in our object program also. So, okay, so that will be indicated with this end record. End indicates that it is end of the object program and it also shows the starting address of that program. Okay, this is taken from the operand of the program's end statement. Okay, so just remember these three records: header record, text record and end record. Now these three records, again they have particular formats, syntax. Strictly we have to follow them. The formats what we use for these records are as shown below. Okay, so here the details of the formats are called as column numbers are arbitrary. It means that here in this format I am going to use one word, that is column numbers. These column numbers are nothing but, you just remember, they are nothing but number of characters. That's all. Okay, number of characters. You just imagine a table with some rows and columns without lines. Okay, so there you just assume that column number 1 is nothing but there is only one character is fitable. Okay, in column number 2 to 7 means what here? There are only 6 characters can be written. Column number 8 to 13, again there are only 6 characters can be written. And column 14 to 19, again there are only 6 characters only we can write here. So like this is there is particular format is there. So okay, so here the first column should always in header record, that is always only one character. Okay, first column should be always with the capital H. That capital H indicates that it is a header record. And column number 2 to 7, it's next column I am talking about. Okay, in the next column onwards up to 7th column, it means 6 columns will be utilized to write the program name. Okay, that is program name in our example is COPY. Okay, only COPY, copy, a small program name we have given. That 4 character program name it is. 4 characters are there, 4 bytes, 4 columns will be utilized. The remaining 2 columns will be kept blank. Clear? Now next 8 to 13, column number 8 to 13. Again 6 columns are reserved for writing the starting address of the object program in hexadecimal. Of course, remember addresses will be always in the form of hexadecimal, okay, not in binary. Okay, so here starting address we should specify in a header record, that is 1000 in our example. In our program we are assuming that our program is starting in the address 1000. Since there are only again 4 digits are there, 1000 1000. So but here I can I have 6 columns space there, right? So what we have to do is we should write those 4 bits in a 4 digits in a rightmost 4 columns, and first 2 columns should be filled by a 0. Okay, then next 14th column to 19th column will be filled with the length of the object program in bytes. Okay, length of our complete program, and it should be also in the form of hexadecimal. Clear now? So this is about header record. I will show you how to write it. Okay, don't worry. Then text record. So for first column again it should be capital T to indicate it as a text record. And 2 to 7, again 6 columns will be for starting address of the object code. Okay, starting address for the object code in this record. It means that in that line whatever the address is there, address for the object code in this record. Okay, so that is also hexadecimal. And 8 to 9 will be the length of object code in this record. It means length of object code in this record means what here, in this record means what here, there are some 4 to 5 lines of this text record will be there. Remember, there will be only one line for header line. There may be some 4 to 5 lines for text record. I am talking about rows, not columns. Okay, in header record there will be only one row. For text record there may be some 4 to 5 rows. For end record again there is only one row. Now if you want to talk about columns, first column will be filled by T, second to 7th column will be filled by starting address for the object code in that record. In that record means in that line, this record means what here, in this line. Okay, so next length of the object code in that line. Okay, then 10 to 69, see how many number of columns are available here. More number of columns are available. In these columns what I have to write, I have to write your actual object codes, whatever you have generated now. Those all object codes you should keep on right here. Okay, that is in text record in from the column number 10 to 69 represented in a hexadecimal. Clear? Now end record. In end record there will be again only one row, but in that one row first column will be filled by E, capital E, to indicate it as a end record. And column number 2 to 7 again 6 columns are reserved for writing address of first executable instruction in the object program. That address obviously it should be in the form of hexadecimal, that is in our program it is 1000. Okay, so these 3 records we should strictly follow to write the object program. Now this is how exactly our object program looks like. Okay, so this is what we have converted our assembly level program into low level program or machine level program. In this program there are some symbols are there in between, that is a caret symbol or cap type of symbols, right? Many number of symbols are there like this. Okay, so these symbols whatever I have showing here, so these symbols will not be present in our actual object code. actual object code does not contain this cap symbol or caret symbol. Sir, why they have written here? For easy understanding purpose, or you people only they have written here. Okay, you just imagine this object program in this diagram, whatever I am showing, without these cap symbols, and you will just have only sequence of some numbers there, 0, 1, 3, to some alphabets also, because of these hexadecimal A, B, C, D, E, F, that also you will have. Okay, so here these caret symbols are not part of your object program. These are just helping us to understand this object program. Keep it in your mind. Okay, so here instead of using a byte word, I have used the word column here. Okay, so here just don't worry, column whatever I told you, these are nothing but these. So as I told you, first header record contains only one row, and in that one row, first column contains capital H. Okay, and after that, to separate it, I have used this cap symbol here. Then second column to seventh column, from second column to seventh column, I should write the name of the program. Correct. So yesterday I have told you to write these all header record, text record, and end record in your class notes. I think you have written. So just refer it. Okay, again and again, I cannot go back to my previous slide. So from column number 2 to 7, I have 6 columns here actually. 6 columns to write the name of my program, that is COPY. Okay, only 4 characters are filled, and remaining 2 columns you can keep them as blank. Okay, with the blue color pen I have written here column numbers. Only up to 7 I have written. Actually after 7, 8th column will start, and up to from 8th to what is there 8th to 13th, 8th to 13th, what I have to write here, starting address of the object program. Starting address of the object program in my program is 1000. So rightmost 4 columns I have written as 1000, the leftmost 2 columns I filled it as a 00. And last 14th column to 19th, 14th column to 19th is a length of object program in bytes. Length of object program is a 107A. How it is 107A? Yesterday I had given you some assignments there. I had told you to keep your calculator in hexadecimal mode, and I told you to perform 207A minus 1000. Why, sir, you told it? Because if you observe your program carefully, your program is starting in the address 1000 and it is ending in the address 207A. If you want, you observe there. Okay, so there I show you 1 second. Here the last instruction in my program was byte x05. Byte x05. Okay, so that is hexadecimal constant 05 for the output device. After that, so author had not written anything here, but I have written with pencil here. If you observe carefully, it is appearing here. So byte, and how many number of byte it is reserving? Only 1 byte. How it is? Okay, we can see here byte assembler directive. It is reserving only 1 byte for the output device. Since it is only taking 1 byte of memory, 2079 plus 1, then it becomes 207A. 207A minus 1000, that is the starting address of your program. Then you will get the length of your program. Correct? So that length only I have to write here. Where it is? Here I have written 107A. And since it is also 4 digits, the leftmost 2 digits I can fill it with the 00. Clear how to write the header record? Okay, then text record. As I already told, in a text record there may be some 4 to 5 rows. Okay, so in that each and every row is called as one record here. Remember, one row is called as one record. In text record, what I have to write? First column I should write the capital T, and 2 to 7 I should write the starting address of the object code in this record. It means that starting address of my program is 1000, and previous 2 columns I filled with the 00, and first column I have written already T. And to separate these fields only, we are using these caret symbols. Okay, and next state, column number 8 to 9 is a length of the object code in this record. Length of the object code. I will write this length 1e, and how this is 1e I will tell you later. First we will fill these columns. What are these columns? Column number 10 to 69. What I have to write here? I have to write a object code here up to where 69th column, starting from 10th column. Okay, starting from 10th column. This is 10th column. So starting from 10th column up to 69th column, I should keep on writing my all object codes, whatever I have already generated in my program in the last column. Okay, so you just keep on writing them, keep on writing them, keep on writing them. Once you reach the 69th column, you should stop there. And after stopping there, now each and every object code, for your understanding purpose, for my understanding purpose, we have used here this caret symbols. If you remove them, you will not understand where is my first object code, second object code, third object code. So it is very easy for me to get if this is a first object code, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Okay, so if you remember, in SIC, all instructions are 24-bit instructions only in SIC. Okay, so 24-bit is equal to 3 bytes. So you have generated this object code for each and every instruction, and each and every instruction is 3 byte length, that is 24-bit length. So 3 plus 3 plus 3, like this if you do, you will get 30. If you want, you just count it. 3 plus 3, 6, 6 plus 3, 9, 9 plus 3, 12, 12 plus 3, 15, 15 plus 3, 18, 18 plus 3, 21, 21 plus 3, 24, 24 plus 3, 27, 27 plus 3, 30. Okay, or else you can do like this also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 into 3. 10 instructions into 3, 30. So this is 30. The length of this record. The length of this record only you should write here in these two columns. Column number 8 and 9. So instead of 30, you have written 1e here. Yesterday I told you one homework, one assignment to convert the 30 into hexadecimal. In hexadecimal only we have to write. Never ever use your decimal. Okay. Okay. If you convert that 30 into hexadecimal, you will get 1e. That 1e only I have written here. Clear? So after reaching column number 69, still you have object codes in your program. That next object codes you should write in the next row onwards. Okay, so that next row starts from next line, that is T. Again, the first is column number 2 to 7 is a starting address for this object code in that record. Starting address of that record. It means that once you had started to list the object codes, you had started from the address 1000. So where you stopped, you stopped in line number somewhere, I tell you, and its object code was 00102D. 00102D. It means that here you have stopped in line number 55. You stopped it in line number 55. So now onwards you should start again from line number 60. Are you getting? Yeah, so that line number 60, its address only you should write here. Okay, length address, address, okay, 1036. So you stopped it as 102D. So next line onwards you should again keep on listing the object codes. Object codes, then you should keep on writing it, and once you reach this end of this subroutine, means here, once you reach this 00, that is nothing but line number 90. Once you reach this line number 90, you should stop there. Clear? So from where you had started, from 101E you had started, and where you are stopping in line number 90 you are stopping. Remember, these object codes you will write here. Okay, in the second text record, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 3s are 21. 21, if you convert into hexadecimal, you will get 15. That length of that record is a 15. Next object codes Similarly, you should keep on listing like this. Again, you will get a 30, and that 30, if you convert it into hexadecimal, you will get 1E. Okay, from where you are listing it, 2039. I think 2039 is in line number 2039. No, it is in line number 125. 125. And from here to here, there is no any object code. Remember here, there is no any object code. This memory is used by loaders for some other purpose. Remember, okay? 2039 you have started, and you will stop, I think, in line number 170. Okay, 170 somewhere you will stop here. Then you will go to next record. Again, you will start it from 1036 like this, and here one hexadecimal constant will come for input device. That is only 1 byte of hexadecimal constant. Please take care of these all things, because every object code is not 3 bytes only. Okay. Okay. Here 3 plus 3 6, 6 plus 1 7, 7 plus 3 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25, 28. If you convert 28 into hexadecimal, you will get 1C. Okay. So then similarly, last you will write this also. That is 1, 2. 2 into 3, 6. 6 plus 1, 7. So its length is 07. So sir, why 05 it is? It is a hexadecimal constant. Hexadecimal value for the hexadecimal code for the output device. For input device it is F1, for output device it is 05. Within 2 minutes this class will end. Okay, from next class onwards I will continue. And last one, end record. In end record I should write a capital E in the first column, and from 2 to 7 I should write the starting address of my program, that is 1000, which is prefixed with the 00. Clear? So this is how we have to write the object code or object program. In this format only we should write a header record, text record, and end record. Clear? Okay. You can leave the meeting now. If you have any doubts, anytime you send me WhatsApp number, your doubts. Okay, I clarify in WhatsApp only. Okay, next class onwards I continue. Okay, you can leave the meeting now.